Hello, comrades. Welcome back to Ushanka Show. Здравствуйте, дорогие товарищи. В эфире программа Ushanka Show. Today we return back to the topic of ОБХСС, the Soviet Economical and Financial Crimes Police. And we're gonna look at a couple more famous cases that started in the end of 70s, early 80s, right by the end of the rule of Leonid Brezhnev. First, we're gonna look at the so-called caviar case, Икорное дело, which was going on in 1979 till 1981. So this caviar case started actually with KGB. They got interested in a couple of comrades. One was Comrade Fieldman, who was a general director of the Ocean Fish Products Trading Company, and as well as a director of one of its stores. So this company, like a trading company, had a so-called фирменные магазины. So they had retail stores, also named Ocean. So that means they sell sea products. So both guys were traveling to the other socialist countries, and they got caught smuggling hundreds of thousands of rubles into this, like Yugoslavia or Poland or Bulgaria. I already covered the topic of the Soviet tourism and how Soviet people traveled to the other socialist countries, and they couldn't bring a lot of money with them. They could buy only like $30 in foreign currency, and they could take only a little bit of Soviet rubles with them. So these guys got caught taking hundreds of thousands of rubles with them. So I guess they were just having like a secret vest under regular clothing, smuggling rubles out of the country. And while being in Yugoslavia, for example, they would exchange Soviet rubles to Western hard currencies like American dollars or German Deutschmarks, and then illegally deposit them into the Western banks. Apparently, they both were planning to escape from Soviet Union, but they wanted to make sure they had plenty of money to enjoy Western lifestyle. So they got arrested, and during the investigation and interrogations, KGB found out way bigger criminal activity going on besides just smuggling rubles out of the Soviet Union. And that's very impressive. So the main business was they had a small factory in Sochi, which is on the Black Sea, and what they did, paying bribes, they were bringing some illegal black caviar and putting it in the cans that were labeled like as Sprats, Килька в томатном соусе, so tomato sauce Sprats, I think I'm saying this correctly, S-P-R-A-T-S, and then this caviar, which was documented as just cheap fish, was shipped to Yugoslavia, and that was their main income. They were making thousands, if not millions of dollars by illegally smuggling black caviar out of Soviet Union. So after discovering this illegal factory, I think factory was actually legal, but they were just using it illegally. They started following the leads, and it went all the way up to Moscow to the Ministry of Fish and Industries. And the second guy in this ministry, so we have a minister, and then I would say be like vice minister, so заместитель министра. So second guy got arrested too, Vladimir Rytov, and he got arrested and later executed for taking large sums of money, taking large bribes. And while making investigations and arrests in Sochi, that small town on the Black Sea, KGB and local authorities discovered more corruption. So that caviar case, Икорное дело, is actually kind of like developed into so-called Sochi Krasnodar Case, where way more people got arrested and sent to prison. Now, when I was researching this topic, some people think that this giant Sochi Krasnodar case was actually Andropov's election campaign. So, in Soviet Union, when you want to get elected, you start going after your rivals and find dirt on them. Probably sounds familiar. So you don't care about being elected by people, because in Soviet Union there'll be central committee choosing the next leader. So you want to make sure you find dirt on all your opponents, so you'll be the only good candidate to become a leader of Soviet Union. At that time, the first secretary of the Krasnodar Regional Party Committee was Comrade Medunov, who was a very good friend of Brezhnev. And a lot of people thought that he will be a good candidate to replace Brezhnev, because in early 80s it was obvious that Brezhnev not going to last long, and Medunov was one of the candidates to replace him. So Andropov, who was a KGB chief at that time, sent his top investigators, his best KGB hounds, to find dirt on his opponent, Comrade Medunov. And, surprise, surprise, that wasn't that hard to find some crimes in that town. So the whole Sochi, the whole town was like in panic. And as a result, around 5,000 government officials were fired, excluded from the Communist Party. On top of it, about 1,500 got arrested, and quite a few of them got really lengthy jail times. And Comrade Medunov was fired too, lost his position of first secretary because of corruption. Like, they couldn't prove that he was taking bribes, but because such a corruption was going on under his nose, he was let go too. And this investigation spread to nearby town of Gelendzhik, and there they arrested a lady named Berta Borodina, who had a nickname Steel Bella, Железная Bella, and she was the main person in charge of all the restaurants and cafeterias in Gelendzhik. It's another small town on the shores of Black Sea. When she got arrested, cops went on her house, militia went to her house, and says that her house looked like a museum. It was just packed full of gold and jewels, cash. This is one of the inconveniences of being corrupt person in Soviet Union. You can't buy mansions, you can't buy fancy boats or, expensive cars. So people were just stashing cash or buying gold coins or any other jewels. So she actually was canning her cash. She used 3-liter glass jars and packed them full with cash, and then closing the lid, put that metal lid, seal in the jar so the moisture won't get and won't destroy cash. So her basement was full of these glass jars full of cash. So as I mentioned, the Железная Bella, Steel Bella, was managing all the locals' restaurants and cafeterias, and she was taking bribes from these restaurants to supply them with a better quality alcohol and better quality foods. Then she was taking a cut from everything they were making on the side, like illegally. And what would they do? They would dilute vodka or cognac. They will dilute milk and sour cream with water. They will use less meat, use cheap ingredients, and then all this extra income they had to give a cut to the lady. And of course she was paying bribes up the chain of command. So there was this whole system at working. She was helping them with supplies and getting kickbacks. At the time of her arrest, they found around 500,000 rubles in her house. So we're talking people making average 130 rubles a month in Soviet Union. She had 500,000 rubles at her place. it was estimated that through her hands went about 1.5 million rubles, doing all this financial cash flow. Apparently, she even provided escort services in Soviet Union. This is crazy. So if somebody will come to relax by the Black Sea, and there'll be some girls available, she did that too. So as I mentioned earlier, Bella was arrested, and I guess she was expected to get maximum 15 years, but someone was really upset with her, probably Comrade Andropov, so she ended up being executed. She got shot in 1983, so she was the only female in the Soviet Union ever executed for the economical crimes. Total of 3 women got executed in Soviet Union. One was a former Nazi helper, and she was executing Jewish people during the World War II. Other one was poisoning people. It's like she was like a serial killer, but just poisoning people. There was something wrong with her head. And Steel Bella was number 3, got executed for high criminal activity, economical activity, and they said she was the only female who got executed for that reason. And of course, there were many other cases. Like, for example, there's a bunch of people got arrested in Moscow. They were paying bribes to the local retail outfits like Univermagi, and instead of selling goods to the customers, salespeople or director of the retail store would sell to these guys this deficitные товары, so deficit goods, whatever, be like shoes or electronics, and then they will take those goods and ship them somewhere out to Siberia in the different regions and resell them, make a huge profit. So when it came to retail in Soviet Union, you pretty much can point anyone in any store and they were doing something illegal, because there was such a shortage of goods, and it just was impossible to resist to make a quick buck. Like, I just read some lady, she quit working as a teacher because she was making on like 130 rubles as a teacher. She became a salesperson at the store for 80 rubles, but at the same time she could make additional from 20 to 50 rubles per day in this side business by reselling stuff or whatever. So huge difference just because you had access to goods. And there's another cute details. So I read also that in 1983 ОБХСС went hardcore chasing Nisuni, those blue-collar workers that were carrying stuff out of factories. So it says they arrested somewhere close to, at least they caught close to like 20,000 people who were smuggling stuff out their places of work, and the total cost of goods were about 2 million rubles. So 20,000 Nisuni had 2 million rubles worth of goods, while this one single lady had 500,000 rubles in her house. So you could tell their scale was quite different. Well, I was hoping I can wrap up the topic of ОБХСС, Soviet Economical Crimes Police, but we still have a couple things to cover, so there'll be another video. So I hope you enjoyed this story. As always, I like your comments, so please post the comments under this video, share with your friends, and we'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye. Hey, by the way, cool merch for cool comrades is available at the Ushanka store at teespring.com. And if you love my channel and would like to show your support, please click on the link below this video and become the patron of the Ushanka Show. For as little as $1, you can help us grow and create the new, interesting videos about the life in Soviet Union.